Hello, I'm Tato Cat and welcome to my channel. Today we're playing the letter previously. After saying bye to Makala, Ashton walks around the house and then we see the gruesome scene and then disappears. Was like, that was weird. And he keeps walking and there's no one in the house and it's really weird. We keep walking and we hear and then we hear something about mother, she's going to get me. Sob, sob, sob. And we kind of follow that all the way up to the attic and we see a person just crying, her hands covered in blood, and she says some stuff and we're like, why isn't she responding when I talk to her? And as soon as Ashton tries to touch her, he gets nabbed by Hansi and he's losing this fight badly, but then out of nowhere comes Isabella with Ashton's taser that he gave to Makala, and that's pretty much where we left off. Alright, let's continue. I can taste the blood in my tongue. I heave, attempting to get in as much air despite the towel still coiled around my neck.
Ash?
You're going to lose air quickly that way, Dummkopf. Better keep it shut.
Get out! 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 Val!
Don't be stupid! I'm not leaving you here!
He laughs, too cruel, too unforgiving. The way each note beats against my ears, in spite of the warmth in them, and send chills down my spine. This is a man whose hands have already been tainted with blood before. He won't hesitate.
I'd follow his advice if I were you, little girl. What could you possibly do with a toy?
Is he referring to the rolling pin? Or the taser?
Just hand it over and be on your way. It'll probably be too difficult for a little girl like you to use.
There's a moment of silence. Fuck, I can barely keep my eyes open. But in the next second, though I still don't exactly understand what's happening, Isabel shoots. Late bloomer. Not a cry of pain. Not a yell of panic. But one that's resolute. Firm. Perhaps in a tone that leagues fiercer than any I've heard from her before.
Try me!
I mean, she grew up in a not so great place. I doubt she's incapable of defending herself. I mean, it sounds like she grew up in like this really poor area. And generally when the poor areas, there's lots of crime. Also, just don't underestimate people. You never know.
Ashton, duck!
I do. How could he duck? But whatever. More out of instinct and desire to survive, closing my eyes before my mind can fully process what's going on. It all happens in a blur. The telltale sound of a taser being discharged resounds through the room. The crackles, the air crackles. Something whizzes by, almost too close to my ear, followed by the thud of something blunt connecting solidly with another object. The next thing I know, the towel strangling me has started to loosen. Go, Isabella. Okay. Oh, I pushed J again. It's great that J brings up the journal, but what's not great is that when you push J to bring up the journal, the game still thinks you haven't read the journal entry, so you'll just continue seeing new above the journal thing the entire time. The crying lady. Here we are. Ashton attempted to fight back, but his attacker quickly disarmed him, looping a towel around his neck and strangling him. But just when he was about to lose consciousness, a female voice rings in the room, and she brings down Hansi. I want to know Hansi's backstory. I collapse on the floor, dazed and gasping for air. From my peripheral, though, the haze of blood rushing and the sound slowly filtering back, the butler buckles. He spasms once. Then, without much fuss, falls face first beside me, knocked unconscious by the 50,000 volts of electricity and a fucking rolling pin. Don't underestimate a rolling pin or a frying pan. They make great weapons. And you can use them to cook things or bake things. Fantastic. He'll be out for a while. I have no idea whether I should laugh or cry at that. Somewhere in front of me, my oxygen deprived brain vaguely registers Isabella's form. She slumps on the floor, also breathing heavily. Right next to her, trembling hands, both the taser and the rolling pin lie useless and forgotten, while the mood in the room eases. A long, gradual process of tension lifting. For countless seconds, we remain quiet, with only our short gasps and sighs to fill the silence, allowing the adrenaline ebb away, and both our breathing to slow. Not a true repose by any means, but simply a brief respite. There's still the curse. We're still inside the mansion, in immediate danger. We still have no idea how to fix this. Way to bring things down, Ash. I mean, true, you can't forget that, but still. Outside, the rain seems to only intensify. Lightning flashes speedily somewhere and piercing the sky rumbles. Oh. White and piercing the sky rumbles. I was like, wild doesn't seem quite right. No rest for the wicked. I stir first, once recovered. Having regained some semblance of sense and strength. Breathing still hurts, but it's bearable. As is moving, although every small motion causes a wince. There will be bruising tomorrow, I can imagine. I can manage. Retrieving my gun from under the bed easy, but only with some effort. I'm able to drag an unconscious man to the far end of the room, snapping one end of a handcuff on his wrist while fastening the other on the bed frame. That should keep him restrained for a few hours in case he wakes up prematurely. Although all through this, Isabella stays quiet. In fact, she hasn't even moved since. Her hands still shake, and taking in long draws of breath while she stares vacantly in front of her, almost as if she's in shock. Perhaps she isn't even expecting any result, spurred only by some kind of desperation. Now it's sinking in. Unfortunately, we need to get moving. We don't have time to wait for everything to register in our heads. Kneeling in front of her, I give her a light shake.
Belle, we need to go. We can't stay here.
Slowly she turns, staring at me with wide eyes. Worry flickers briefly in them, along with something infallible. Then without warning, she lifts a hand, and she slaps me right across the face. The sound of it cracks the air, shattering the silence like a fragile glass breaking. Despite the familiar rumble of thunder outside, it manages to ring louder above the storm. I don't even know what hit me until my head has already snapped back and my cheek stings with anger. And it is anger. In spite of the stillness and the lack of words afterwards, not fuming though, never fuming, but the kind that burns lightly and soundlessly. A frustration instead of a seething rage. One that ebbs just as quickly as it flows, and once the tide subsides, there's only that gleam in her eyes, warm, steadfast, and unflinching. Quietly, I brace myself for the truth underneath that gaze. It slips from her lips softly, nearly fading under the sound of the rain, still falling fast, if not for the weight of each of her words.
What is wrong with you?
Belle,
If your bartender friend hadn't slipped up, no one would have known where you went.
He probably didn't slip up. I think that was intentional.
Belle, one person knowing is enough. Any more than that, and
You almost died! He could have suffocated you right then and there, and you could have died. And by the time anyone ever finds out, you're already fertilizer!
She trails off, drags one indrawn breath after another. A brief lull as her frustration finally gives, dissolving into something more pensive and somber. Her shoulders droop, and though her voice rises hoarse and weary in her next words, there's only certainty.
You count too, you know? When I said that night, when I told you that I don't want to lose anyone anymore, that includes you. Alive. We're still here, Ash. You have us.
And once their meaning fall, roar. It does so not with force of a dam breaking or a raging storm, but with the gentle, steady warmth of a hearth burning, an ember easing slowly, lighting, rising, and giving until all that's left is a truth, an understanding. Not alone. Never alone. Journal updated. Having recovered, Ashton quickly urged Isabella to move, knowing it wasn't safe to stay idle. Without warning, however, Isabella slapped him. Furious at him for keeping people in the dark, she reminded him of what was important, and with it came a realization about himself. It lingers, even as we both drift back into silence, and her words take root, because in the gratitude that swells after is another warmth blooming, pleasant, welcoming, like finding home, like finding ourselves in the haze a squall has left, creating something fragile, yet immutable in both of us. It's in her eyes, in the way she holds my gaze unwavering, in the way she carries herself, despite sitting amidst the place she fears. While Hansi's just tied to the bed and all this is going on, okay. In the way she keeps herself from trembling and falling apart, because fear is inconsequential when people she cares about are at risk. A change. She realizes that now, holds on to it. Another little thing, another small thing from her that may go unnoticed and pass by quietly, but will eventually amount to a lot of things. Tiny gestures that mean nothing at first, but begin to matter to me one day until, oh, despite myself, a small smile slips from my lips as the same warmth from earlier unfurls my chest. Unhurried, familiar, and bright. From all these years I've carried it. I've never given the words for it.
Stop smiling like that, Ashton! I'm not done scolding you!
But this time, they come easy.
I heard all of it. Don't worry.
Are you really okay? That guy hit you a little too hard on the head. Here, let me...
I reach up just as she extends a hand toward my face, catching her wrist in a light grip, drawing it closer and holding her hand between mine. Although her expression does shift into mild confusion, she does not pull away like I'm expecting. She simply stares at me, searching. For her to allow a gesture from me that's perhaps too close. It tells a lot how far things have already shifted in the past few years. Cradled in mine, her hand still trembles. Most of the tremors has already subsided by now, though I doubt it'll fade away this soon. Even as I trace the lines of her palm in what I hope is a comforting gesture.
I'm sorry, Belle.
For what? Is this about what happened tonight? You can apologize later when...
No, well, this too, but it's not just about this.
It's for a lot of things. For calling you clumsy and careless and a scatterbrain.
Are you sure this isn't a concussion?
You would think that, wouldn't you?
Well, you don't usually apologize.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that too. For all the times I've teased you and made you cry.
Unexpectedly, her fingers tighten around mine, my hands falling between us, as if something tender shifts in air. Another exhale. Another drawn breath eases out of me, filled with every hesitation and uncertainties. But when I finally choose to break silence, it's only when I know that what will slip past my mouth is the one truth I will hold against the world.
But for all those callous words, despite all those,
I feel like something is going to happen before he can tell her that he loves her.
there's nothing that I don't love about you.
Oh,
In fact, those things, I love those. And everything. Everything that's you.
for a long moment, she offers no response. Her grip on my hands merely tightens. Although my heart's pounding hard against my ears, I take a chance and look up, slightly leaning away and giving her a cautious glance, more than ready to hear her rejection. Instead, I find her on the brink of tears, with an almost unreadable expression on her face. When she notices my eyes on her, she hastily reaches up and wipes it with the back of her hands. It does not keep them from falling, and soon they trail down her cheeks despite her best attempts. To say this panic shooting right up at the base of my throat is a complete understatement. This isn't how I expected this to go.
Hey, Belle, did I say something wrong?
Why would you? I don't even have anything.
What?
I don't have anything. I'm not rich. I live off instant noodles almost every day. I can't do anything properly without someone helping me. Except maybe if it's drawing, but that's beside the point. I didn't even get to graduate, even if I was so close. I'm not even sure that scholarship will get me anywhere. And ever since I came here, in the 5 years you've known me, I've got us into all kinds of trouble. So why would you even say that? I'm not...
Maybe it's the moment itself that spurs me to it. The desperation, the fear of almost dying. That I've already said more than what I'll usually allow myself. I might as well finish before I lose my nerve. No matter the reason, I reach out for her. Gently, so unlike the way she barged into our lives so many years ago. The way she came in would leave a terrible impression on anyone, really, and yet, it's people like her. They don't easily forget. It's them that gradually worms their way into a person's life until the very thought of losing them becomes unbearable. Isabella trails off once my palm brushes against her tears stained cheeks, but she neither pulls away nor pushes my hands off. Rather, she looks at me wide-eyed with another searching look. I only have one answer for that.
It doesn't matter. All of that is still you, and that's enough for me.
No promises, only truths. Perhaps the only genuine thing I can do that I can offer her at the moment. We don't even know what will happen or if we'll ever survive this. So instead of words, I lean in, our foreheads briefly touching, before brushing my lips tenderly against hers. Aww. The kiss is nothing intimate by any means. There's a brief second once our lips touch when she tenses, unsure. A long moment of not knowing what to do with her hands until she settles them on me. Slipping it up my arm, and a light grip. Afraid, too afraid, to make a mistake or hurt. But for now, it's enough. It's the closest we can come to it. Rather than give out empty promises or grand proclamations, we have this. Instead of words, execute achievement. Something she soon understands, as her shoulders ease, and she permits me to draw her closer, deepening the kiss. Softly and gently, a short second of simply allowing the world to melt away around us, and this to roar above anything else, like every little thing between us that has built up to this one single point in time, a moment that becomes ours and ours alone, something to hold close until all of this is over. Journal updated. A lot of journal entries are happening in a very short span of time. Understanding how much she also meant to him, Ashton took both of her hands in his and apologized. And in a rare moment of honesty, confessed what he truly felt for her. The one truth he'd always hold against the world. We part later to the sound of the world rushing back around us. Thunder, rain, and lightning. All to remind us both of the reality we have to face. Enough to dampen the mood and force back the worry I've temporarily forgotten. Okay, we'll end this episode here. We will see if we get to venture further in the mansion or if they're going to take us to Luke in the next episode. I'm Tail Cat. Have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon.